Hello and welcome to the Interesting Podcast. This is episode 1, and I welcome you. So thank you for being here. All right, so let's dive right in. So the first thing I want to dive into is this. So I don't know where you are on your musical journey, but for me, learning how to solo earlier rather than later, I think was good. Partly because one of my favorite things in the whole world is learning different songs with other people and being able to improvise over them with them. That's got to be one of my favorite parts of playing music. And I was fortunate enough to, I think within the first year or two, I think 2 years of playing, I was able to improvise. But I just want to encourage anyone who's thinking about learning the guitar to learn the pentatonic scale, learn the major scale even, learn some arpeggios, have an idea of what you're doing, learn how to solo on the guitar, learn what, where the roots are, learn the fretboard, what specific notes are where's the A, where are all the A's at, where are all the C's at, having just the fretboard mapped out in your mind so you're able to kind of wrap your head around what's going on when you're soloing. The main thing I would recommend is learning the pentatonic scale up and down the neck, period. Once you learn that, then the melodies of the songs that you like, and then learning how to also play arpeggios over the chord tones. All that combined can make for really beautiful sounding playing, and that's what I'd recommend. So yeah, that's the first part of this video. The next part is to learn chord progression patterns earlier. So what I mean by that is just having I think that's probably the main music theory to target early on. So it's like having an idea of what a 1-4-5 chord progression is, and being able to play that in pretty much any key. So let's say we're in the key of G, knowing that you have the G chord as the 1 chord, the C chord as the 4 chord, the D chord as the 5 chord. Just understanding where the 1-4-5s are. Especially in these open positions as you're starting out, but eventually all up and down the neck. 1-4-5, and you can play that in C, like C, F, and G. C being the 1, F being the 4, G being the 5. And then also realizing there's even more to that, right? You have you can always go 1, 6, 2, 5. 1, 6, 2, 5 is pretty cool. Right, in C, that's C, A, or A7, D7, G7. Right? 1, 6, 2, 5. Another thing to know is you can always just go to the 4 chord, and then you can make the 4 minor, which sounds nice, and the minor 4 goes back to the 1 nicely. Right. And the 1 goes really nicely to the 6. The 6 goes nicely to the 2, 5, 1. The 2 also, so if we're in C, the 2 is D minor typically. You can make it major as well. If you make it major, usually make it a 7. That's a D7. The 2 can also be either minor or major. That's pretty much the main thing I want to point out right here. So if we're in C, 1, 6, 2 can be minor to the 5, Dom 7, back to the 1. There's another thing to think about. You can also be major. Right. So those are common, and those happen in every key, right? If we're in B flat. Excuse me. The guitar is kind of funky. A couple of weird notes up here. Anyways, so just getting familiar with the patterns that exist there. I'd recommend kind of just understanding how the circle of fifths works. And that's pretty much that. So yeah. Next one we're going to move on to is have musical goals. So for a long time, I'd say there's a 2-year period of my life where, the first 2 years I played the guitar, so to separate from the other 2 years. First 2 years, I was just practicing learning the guitar generally, learning the songs that I love and consistently learning things that I didn't yet know. Then there's like 2 years where I was just quote unquote drifting, where I was just really playing the stuff that I already knew over and over. I wasn't practicing anything new, and I was totally just unaware of this. I was just playing songs that I knew, the same pentatonic scales that I knew, the same spots over and over without making much progress. I got more into personal development, and then I realized that I could apply that to my music. And then as soon as I like started becoming more intentional with my practice and like where I want to go with music, I all of a sudden just uncovered so much and have learned so much within the past year or so. So that was all because I think I started being more intentional with my practice. And the reason I started becoming more intentional with my practice is because I realized that I wanted to become a better guitar player than I wanted to be. So I set a musical goal. I was like, I want to record and release a gypsy jazz album next year. So I've just been practicing like a new style of music that I've never played before, which is gypsy jazz, right? And sure enough, it's been like a ton of fun, and I'm learning all these beautiful songs, and I'm just like having a blast, like growing as a guitar player. And it just feels good to be making progress and to be learning new things and to be growing, because I think that's like an important thing to be doing. So yeah, I'd recommend having musical goals and then, just getting consistent and practicing things that you don't yet know. Yeah, which I think leads us to our next one. Well, we'll go there after. So actually, we might as well do it now. So 4, get disciplined with your practice. So like I said, just have an awareness and try and be more intentional about your practice. Try not to just play the things that you know whenever you pick up the guitar, but maybe set aside a certain period of time. I've been aiming for about an hour a day of practicing things that I am not good at. So it's like I'm making, mistakes as I'm practicing and like correcting and like becoming, just being more disciplined with my practice, just not playing the same things that I already know over and over, but instead, you get it, practicing the things that I don't yet know. And when I do that, all of a sudden, like, wow, I can play all these different melodies now that I didn't know a few weeks ago, and it's like, that's awesome, So that's number 4. Right, just get disciplined with your practice. All right, number 5 is find the style that you love. This usually comes naturally to guitar players, but for me, I grew up playing classic rock and like the Grateful Dead and Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, like. And then I got into like Grateful Dead, right? And that was great. And then I got into bluegrass for a little bit, like. Anyways, which was also great. But my heart was in all that, but it wasn't until I found jazz like recently to where I'm like, oh my God, I want to pursue this, and like I want this to be kind of like my end destination for my guitar playing. Like I want to do this for the rest of my life, kind of thing, to where and it's not like the new jazz. Personally, I don't really like it, the sporadic jazz. I like the old jazz from like the 20s and 30s. And like that's the style that just calls to me, and I'm just super excited about it. But like for other people, that's different. But just know, like, you might be in a style right now that you like, and maybe you love it, and it's like you're gonna commit to it. But exploring different genres of music and finding ones that I didn't even really know about this kind of music until just recently, right? So just exploring different genres and finding one that you love and want to hone in on, I think is just a good thing to think about. So yeah, those are the 5 things I wish I knew as a beginner. If I could have this conversation with my 16-year-old self or 15-year-old self, I would totally just I would love to listen to that if I was my 16-year-old self. So to this, anyways, that's that. So I hope you guys enjoy. I'll see you in the next one. Later.